Well, good morning, Canada. I hope your coffee's hot because the auto news isn't.
Yep, it's another day in politics, and once again, we're watching the news so you don't have to.
Here's what's not great. GM shut down its bright drop electric vans in Ingersoll just days after Stellantis yanked Jeep Compass out of production in Brampton.
What's the deal, dudes? We invest billions, they bank the profits, and our workers get a see you later.
Today, we're talking about why the game is rigged and the Made in Canada breakaway plan to fix it. And we're asking the only question that matters: why are we still rewarding the backstab?
Yeah, it's time to stop playing backup singer in Detroit's band and build a Canadian industry with our minerals, our batteries, and our jobs.
First, the facts. GM has ended bright drop electric van production at the KME plant in Ingersoll. Then Stellantis Jeep Compass production, which was supposed to be in Brampton, gets rerouted to Illinois as part of a U.S. build-out. Ottawa says, not so fast, and threatens legal action if promises tied to public money are not honored. The company says, we still love Canada. Look, we'll give Windsor a third shift. But the reality is, Brampton is still losing jobs.
It's a regular pattern every time Washington changes the rules with tariffs, tax credits, election drama. Canada pays the price, not because our workers fall short, but because we're always the first ones on the chopping block when the U.S. CEO needs to look tough.
Doug Ford, he's still pushing back. He says he won't give Stellantis a penny until they prove that they're keeping the Brampton plant open. And he's promising to keep pushing to protect Ontario jobs. For all his bluster, he's right on this one. Canada can't just roll over every time Washington changes the rules.
This isn't a partisan issue, it's a Canadian one, and Ford's proving that when it comes to protecting Ontario jobs, there's room to work across the aisle.
And if you're thinking, surely our leaders are on this, well, you're right, they are. And we've got it in writing. Industry Minister Melanie Joly warned Stellantis in writing to honor your commitments or face legal consequences. You gotta love Melanie Joly. She never backs down.
Because here's what happened, Dave. Canada invested, GM pivoted, and workers lost shifts. They take the subsidies, thank the politicians, and then slam the brakes the minute Trump turns trade into a reality show. And then we hear the same line every time. It's just market conditions. Right, market conditions. That's corporate code for Trump told us to leave, so we left.
Look, if a company cashes government checks and then ghosts its workers, the payback shouldn't be a debate. It should be automatic. That's not radical, that's accountability 101.
Meanwhile, GM stock hits record highs. What a surprise. They make billions, the shareholders cheer, and our auto workers get severance letters.
What this tells us is that living and dying by the US market is a rigged game for Canadian workers, and it's now time we finally break away and build something that's ours.
When GM walks away from Ingersoll and Stellantis bolts from Brampton, the message is clear. Canada's optional to them. They don't respect us.
And that's what we mean when we say the game is rigged. We've tied our economy to the one customer, America, and then act surprised every time that they pull the plug. We're building cars in a country where US policy can flip overnight and does. Tax credits vanish, and buy American really means buy anyone but Canadian.
And we've been telling ourselves that this is stability, but what it really is dependence, and it's draining our sovereignty one deal at a time. The truth is, if we want a real auto industry in this country, we need to stop begging for a seat at someone else's table and start setting our own.
We've done it before. The Auto Pact of the 60s built our industry from scratch. We didn't wait for permission then, and we shouldn't now.
So let's use our own spending power to create demand here at home and ask, why are we handing out billions to foreign corporations while Canadians can't even afford an EV made here?
And let's get smart about tariffs as well. Instead of these blanket 100% bans on Chinese EVs that punish farmers and consumers, make it a gate. If a company wants a lower tariff, great. Then build in Canada within 2 or 3 years. Otherwise, the full tariff stays.
And we've got to stop waiting for Washington's permission to trade. There's Europe, the UK, the Gulf states, Latin America. These are all markets that actually want affordable, clean vehicles. So let's sell to them. Let's partner with countries that don't threaten us every election cycle.
And while we're on trade, let's zoom out a little bit for a second. Because last week, even Beijing was pointing out the double standard. Washington talks free markets, then weaponizes tariffs when others push back.
Yep, the US loves to dish it out. But the moment another country suddenly pushes back, well, suddenly they're unfair, aggressive, or a national security threat. Please, the United States is not the world's economic police, and it's time the rest of us stopped acting like they are.
Why are we bowing to a guy who bankrupts everything he touches? Casinos, airlines, universities, and now the White House's East Wing. Pick a project, and it's in ruins.
This is a guy who's been sued, indicted, and fined so many times that if his last name wasn't Trump, he'd have his own reserved cell by now.
And that's who we're letting dictate our trade policy? The self-proclaimed dealmaker who's allergic to paying his own bills?
Canada doesn't need to be scared of that circus. We're a G7 country with resources, technology, and leverage. So it's time that we stopped acting like the apprentice.
And here's the kicker. Trump's handing out better trade deals to everyone except us. Under the new US-Japan framework, Japanese vehicles face a 15% tariff. North American vehicles can face up to 25% unless they clear model-by-model USMCA relief. That means there are cases where a car shipped from Tokyo can undercut one built in North America. Yep, you heard that right. Cars shipped from Tokyo could end up cheaper than the ones built in Brampton or Windsor.
Meanwhile, the US just signed a multi-billion-dollar critical mineral deal with Australia, full of guaranteed funding and clear target. Canada should have that. We've got the resources, but they're not giving us any of the same certainty. If we want real leverage, we need deals that actually lock in investment here at home.
How's that for loyalty? We're supposed to be their closest ally, and yet somehow we're getting the worst terms on the continent.
That takes us back to his economic pressure threats. It's the same leverage Trump bragged about when he threatened to make Canada the 51st state. He said he'd squeeze us until we had no choice but to bend the knee, and he's sticking to that plan. Trump wants Canada the way Putin wants Ukraine, not as a partner, but as a possession.
So we need to be smarter than him. Cut him off before he corners us. Because if you look at the pattern, it's not about fair trade, it's about control. He wants control, or perhaps it's Putin that wants control. Those two are interchangeable, right? Of our land, resources, and our water.
Trump's not negotiating, he's circling like a vulture. And the only way to win this game is to stop playing by his rules.
And that's what Carney's already doing, luckily. He's cutting the cord. He's shifting our trade routes, signing new deals across the Atlantic and Pacific, and investing in our own manufacturing. While Trump's busy cornering allies, Canada's out there making new ones.
And that's why this upcoming budget matters. It's not about dollars, it's about direction.
Definitely. The opposition needs to stand with Carney on this one. He's proven that he's a centrist, someone who can work across the aisle and negotiate. But instead of cooperation, we're getting the good old performative rage. Letters, threats, and tantrums before they've even seen the budget.
It's all political theater, and Trump's loving every minute of it. He wants Canada divided, bickering, and looking weak so he can swoop in and say, "See, you can't govern yourselves."
Well, you know what, buddy? We can and we are. We're not saying give Carney like a blank check or anything. The opposition should hold him accountable because that's their job. But do it like adults, not like attack dogs.
So true. Challenge policy, not Canada's stability, and debate ideas, not all of our identities. Because right now, unity is strength and division is the one thing Trump's counting on.
We'll always trade with our neighbors. That's a given. But not at the cost of our own stability. It's time to build a made-in-Canada auto future that doesn't live or die by U.S. politics.
Canada has the raw materials, but we keep shipping them instead of processing them here. We should be building the midstream, the refining, cathodes, anodes, so the batteries of the future are actually made in Canada, not just mined here.
Look, if we control the minerals and the processing, the assembly lines will follow. That's how you build leverage. We build the minerals, we can build the batteries, we can build the cars.
Because every time the US moves the goalpost, and they're doing it a lot, it's Canadian workers who pay the price, and we can't keep funding our own layoffs. It's time to stop playing the spare tire in someone else's machine and start driving our own, baby.
Oh yeah, Because we've got the resources, the technology, and the leverage. We've got the power, the know-how, and the true Canadian grit. So it's time to step up.
So do us a favor and hit subscribe, click on that bell, and share this video so more Canadians can see it before the next round of market conditions.
Then, if you want to dig a little deeper, we've got something new. Our Planet Democracy Substack. There's now a paid version where we go even more in depth every week and have these amazing community discussions.
But you can still get the free version as well. And if you want, you can join the A-Team. Our members are a huge part of our community, and it helps keep the channel independent.
And don't forget to grab your Canadian swag for the World Series, right? Go Jays go! T-shirts, mugs, and hoodies that say exactly what you're thinking.
Wear your elbows up loud and proud.
Because we're not just talking about Canada's future here, we're building it.
Thanks for watching, everyone. And if you want to keep the momentum going, stick around and watch our last video, digging deeper into the budget and what the consequences of an early election just may be.
You'll find it right here on the Planet Democracy. Just click the thumbnail at the end of this video.
See you next time, everyone.
Thanks for watching.